Hi everyone, welcome back to Awana. Guys, this is our second last week of 2020. This is crazy. And I'm looking outside and there is a lot of snow. So we are getting closer and closer to Christmas. And today is actually our last fruit of the Spirit. But before we get into that, we are going to sing a song. And I thought since today was the last fruit of the Spirit, we would sing the Go Fish Guys Fruit of the Spirit song, because we started with the Fruit of the Spirit song way back when we were learning about love. So we're going to wrap everything up with the Fruit of the Spirit song as well. So see if you know all the fruits of the Spirit and you can say all the actions, and then we will learn about the last one after that. Okay, let's go sing.
Ready? Okay! Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, too. Woo-hoo! Gentleness and self-control. Hey! We got Spirit, how about you?
We got the fruit, yeah, yeah. Fruit of the Spirit. We got the fruit, yeah, yeah. This is how we live. We got the fruit, yeah, yeah. Fruit of the Spirit. The gifts that only God can give. Well, it's easy to get mad when things don't go your way. It's easy to get angry when you're having a bad day. It's easy to be mean when people do you wrong. It's easy to complain when you just can't get along. But there's a better way. Spirit can help you when you pray. Fruit, yeah, yeah. Fruit of the Spirit. Got the fruit, yeah, yeah. This is how we live. Got the fruit, yeah, yeah. Fruit of the Spirit. The gifts that only God can give. Well, it's easy to be selfish when you need to give away. It's easy to run when you know you need to stay. It's easy to quit instead of staying till the end. It's easy to argue instead of speaking like a friend. Whoa, there's a better way. Spirit can help you when you pray. Fruit, yeah, yeah. Fruit of the Spirit. Got the fruit, yeah, yeah. This is how we live. Got the fruit, yeah, yeah. Fruit of the Spirit. The gifts that only God can give.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, too. Woo-hoo! Gentleness and self-control. Hey! We got Spirit, how about you?
We got the fruit. There's a better way. God will help you each and every day. We got the fruit, yeah, yeah. Fruit of the Spirit. Got the fruit, yeah, yeah. This is how we live. Got the fruit, yeah, yeah. Fruit of the Spirit. The gifts that only God can give. Only God can give. Yeah, yeah. Fruit of the Spirit. Yeah, yeah. This is how we live. Got the fruit, yeah, yeah. Fruit of the Spirit. Gifts that only God can give.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, too. Woo-hoo! Gentleness and self-control. Hey! We got Spirit, how about you?
Great job, guys. I know that you have like all the words to that song memorized. Okay, so like I said, we are in the last fruit of the Spirit, so let's see if we can say all of them together. So we haven't been talking about this, but the fruit of the Spirit is found in Galatians 5, verse 22. So that's an important thing to remember as well. You want to know all the fruits of the Spirit, but you also want to know where you can find it in the Bible. So Galatians 5:22 says, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, too. Woohoo! Gentleness and self-control. We got Spirit. How about you? Okay, so last one is self-control. So that is the one that we were on today. And this is a great one to end with. I think God was really smart he's always really smart, but he was really smart when he made the fruit of the Spirit because he begins it with love. And you need love in order to do all the other fruit of the Spirit. You can't be joyful and not be loving. You can't be at peace and not be loving. You can't be kind to one another and not be loving. But the same is also true, I think, of the very last one as well, which is self-control. You need self-control in order to do all the other fruit of the Spirit as well. And you may be wondering, well, Anna, what is self-control? Let me tell you so that you can understand more. So self-control is being able to control yourself. I know that's not really a good definition because I just used the words from the word self-control. So it's when you are able to tell yourself or allow yourself not to do something, or you sometimes need self-control to do something. So for example, I always use food as an example because I love food, and I'm sure you do too. Who doesn't love a good chocolate chip cookie? Or just insert your favorite dessert. So let's say you get home from school and your mom has just baked a fresh batch of chocolate chip cookies or your favorite type of cookie. And they're like warm and chewy and the chocolate's all melted in it. So good. But she says you're not allowed to eat any until after supper. Okay, that's going to be really hard because the whole house smells like chocolate chip cookies and you just want to eat one so bad, and they're not going to be nice and warm and melted after supper, so you want one right now. Well, you have to use self-control to stop yourself from eating those cookies. So see how it's taking control of yourself and not allowing yourself to give in to a temptation. So that's what self-control is. And like I said, they all tie together. So you need self-control to not get angry and to be loving to one another. Or you need self-control to not freak out at someone and to be gentle. We learned about gentleness last week. Or you need a lot of self-control to be patient. In that situation, you have to be very patient for supper to come so that after supper you can eat the cookies. So see how all of the fruit of the Spirit just tie in together? And that's why it's called the fruit of the Spirit and not the fruits of the Spirit, because they're all together. It's all one thing. Even though they're made up of a bunch of different ones, love, joy, peace, all the different ones, God wants us to have all of them together because they all work together. So the Bible, of course, talks a lot about self-control. And 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for the Spirit of God gave us, I'm reading this wrong. 2 Timothy 1:7, for the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline or self-control. So that's 2 Timothy 1:7. So again, just like all the other fruits of the Spirit, God has given it to us, or He does give it to us. We receive the fruit of the Spirit from God. We can't do it by ourselves. We cannot have self-control all by ourselves. We need to ask God to help us and to give us self-control. And so it says here that the Spirit that God gave us is not timid. It's not timid. It's not shy. It has given us power and love, which remember is the first fruit of the Spirit, and self-control. So you can pray and ask God to give you self-control, especially in those moments where you're like, God, I'm really tempted. I just want to eat the cookies so bad. And then 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, no temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. Okay, so that didn't actually say the word self-control at all. So you might be asking yourself, Anna, why did you use that verse? Well, it's because temptation and self-control kind of go together, because we need self-control when we are tempted by something. And being tempted means that there's something or someone that's trying to get you to do something that you shouldn't do. So in the cookie situation, those cookies are tempting you to eat them when you know that you shouldn't. You have to wait until after supper. And so you have to have the self-control to say no to the temptation. And so this verse is encouraging because it's saying that God has given us the power and what we need to say no to temptation. There is nothing we will ever face where it's impossible for us to say no. God never gives us a situation where we would have no power of saying no. We can always say no, no matter what it is. So if you're at school and your friends are peer pressuring you or tempting you to do something, remember that if you have the Holy Spirit living inside of you, if you're a Christian, you have the power to say, no, I'm not going to do that because I know that it's wrong and God doesn't want me to. Or in the situation of the cookies, you can say, okay, God, I know that I can wait and I can eat these cookies after supper because you have given me the power to endure and to get out of this temptation. But I know what you're thinking. Anna, some temptations are just really, 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 really hard. And you don't understand, like, it's impossible for me to say no. I do understand. I have situations every single day where I give in to temptations, where I say yes instead of saying no, and my self-control is so bad. But here is a really cool thing. Jesus was actually tempted. It says in Hebrews, for we do not have a high priest, and that's Jesus, who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin. Okay, so it's talking here about Jesus, and it's saying that Jesus is not someone who can't understand us. Empathize means that you understand what a person is going through. You can feel the feelings that they have. So Jesus understands. He knows what we're going through. He understands our weakness because guess what? He was a human. He came down to earth, and that's what we celebrate at Christmas. He came down, he was born, he was a baby, and then he grew into a kid, and then into a teenager, and then into an adult. And so he was tempted by things. And actually in Matthew, it talks about how he went out into the desert, and the devil actually came to him and tempted him 3 times. Can you imagine? Jesus, who is perfect and God and the Son of God, was tempted by the devil. And that tells us that it's not wrong to be tempted. It's not a sin to be tempted. When you are looking at those cookies and you're like, oh no, I want to eat them, you haven't sinned yet. You haven't done anything wrong. You've only done something wrong when you don't have self-control and you say, oh yes, I'm going to eat one. Then you've wronged God. You've done something against God because you've disobeyed your parents, right? And you gave into the temptation. But when that temptation comes into your mind, no matter what it is, maybe you're tempted to say something mean or rude to a kid who is mean to you at school. Or maybe you're tempted to not clean your room after your parents told you that you should. Or maybe you're tempted to not do your homework because you just don't feel like it. There are so many things we're tempted by. Maybe you're tempted to say a bad word when you're frustrated. That happens to me a lot. But you know what? Jesus understands all of those situations. That's what this verse is saying. It says, but we have one, Jesus, who has been tempted in every way. Jesus was tempted in every way, so he understands what you're going through. And it says, just as we are tempted, yet he did not sin. Jesus was perfect. He never gave in to the temptation. He always said, no, I'm not going to do that. The 3 times that the devil tempted him, he said, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. And we have that power living inside of us. Remember, that's what 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, is that God has given us the power to overcome that and to get out of those situations. And so self-control is such a hard thing to do. I have a really hard time with it. And remember I mentioned that it's also about, sometimes you need self-control to do the things that you need to do. We've been talking about saying no to situations. Sometimes you need self-control to do what's right. So for example, I have a very hard time going to bed at a good time. I am a night owl. I like to stay up really, really late, and then I like to sleep in for a really long time. But I can't do that. I have to go to work in the morning, or I have to go to school, just like you guys. And so I need the self-control to go to bed at a good time. So every night at 10 o'clock, it's very hard, but I need to go to bed at 10 o'clock. And so I say to myself, okay, Anna, you need to have the self-control to do what's right. You need to have the self-control to go to bed right now and not to stay up. And then I always feel so much better in the morning. I'm nice and awake this morning because I went to bed at a good time last night. But on the days that I don't have self-control and I give in and I say, you know what, I'm just gonna stay up and watch one more YouTube video, then I feel terrible in the morning and I'm so tired and I have bags under my eyes and I'm so sleepy. And it's so hard to wake up, even though I still have to. So see, God has given us these fruit of the Spirit, all these fruits of the Spirit, because he wants us to grow and to be more like him, and it's for our good. It is better to have self-control because we say no to things that aren't good for us, that God has said, no, you shouldn't do that. No, you shouldn't disobey your parents. No, you shouldn't say something rude or mean to your siblings. No, you shouldn't eat those cookies before supper time. And because all of those things, when we do them, we don't feel good afterwards. Have you ever said something mean to someone and then you're like, now they feel terrible. Now I've upset someone. Now they're going to go off and they're going to feel bad or they're going to cry and that was my fault. Or you eat the cookie and the cookie tastes great, but then you're like, I just disobeyed my mom and dad and now they're going to find out and then I'm going to get in trouble and then I'm going to get grounded or I'm going to get something taken away or sent to my room. And that's not fun. That's not good. Or my example, when I don't have self-control and I go to bed late and then I feel terrible in the morning, it's not fun. And so when we act on the fruit of the Spirit, when we have self-control and love and patience and peace and kindness and faithfulness and gentleness and all of them, it makes our lives better. It's better for us because God knows what is best for me. He knows what is best for you. He knows what is best for your parents. And that's why he has given us his word and why we read it and why we teach about it and why we go to Awana and memorize his word, because all these things are to benefit us. They're to help us and to make us better and to be more like Jesus. So that's the end of all the fruit of the Spirit. I hope you guys have learned so much about all of them. Okay, let's say them one more time together, okay? So it's Galatians 5, verse 22. And the fruit of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, too. Woohoo! Gentleness and self-control. We got Spirit, how about you? The we got Spirit, how about you part isn't actually in the Bible. That's just from the song. But that's how I remember the verse. Remember, that was one of our memorizing tips, is singing a song. And it helps us remember. So I hope you guys have enjoyed learning more about the fruit of the Spirit. Keep working on all of them. I'm still working on all of them. Your parents are still working on them. We're never going to be perfect, but pray and ask God to help you. And next week is our last week of Awana before the new year, and we are going to do a little Christmas message since it's our last week before Christmas. So, but now we are going to go do another memorizing tip. Okay guys, so this is our second last memorizing tip, and I don't know about you, but I was running out of tips. I couldn't come up with anything else because we've done so many. I hope that you have enjoyed them. I hope you've been able to use them. And today's memorizing tip is a cool thing that I found on the internet that I hadn't thought about before, but it said to listen to the verse. And so sometimes when we listen to something over and over and over again, it helps get stuck in our heads. So there are Bible apps, or you can get the Bible on CD, and you can get these different things, and then you can listen to your verses over and over and over again. And maybe you can do that when you're falling asleep at night, or when you're driving in the car to school, or whenever you want to do it. Listening to the verse, listen to someone else say the verse, might help you get it stuck in that brain of yours. So that is our memorizing tip for this week. Keep memorizing your verses. You guys are doing an awesome job, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.